Most 30-year-olds assume they are doing fine. They are not looking at the number that decides everything. By 30, you'll know the exact savings target you need. Stay with that number. Because what delay truly costs will hit differently once you do. The median retirement savings for Americans in their 30s is just $45,000. That sounds like progress, it isn't? The common benchmark by 30 is one full year's salary saved. For most households, $45,000 falls painfully short of that floor. Averages lie in ways that hurt you most. They blend the person with $800,000 saved and the person with nothing, then call it typical. The median is more honest. And the median says most 30-year-olds are seriously, dangerously behind. 1 times your salary saved by 30. 3 times by 40. 6 times by 50. 10 times by 67. Fidelity built this ladder decades ago. It's simple, it's proven, and most people are still stuck on the bottom rung without even realizing it. Sound familiar? If your household earns $74,000 a year, the national median, then $74,000 saved is the bare floor by 30. Not the goal. The floor. And fewer than 30% of 30-year-olds have actually reached it. The other 70% are already behind. Nearly 3 in 10 Americans aged 30 to 44 have saved absolutely nothing for retirement. $0. The Federal Reserve confirmed this sobering figure in 2023. Not a fringe statistic, the lived reality for millions of households across the country right now. Your 30s are when income finally climbs, but for most people, expenses climb even faster. Bigger home, newer car, growing family. And here is the part most people miss. That gap between rising income and faster rising spending is exactly where retirement savings quietly disappear, without a single dramatic decision. A bigger paycheck feels like safety, but it's just a larger number arriving before larger bills do. The sense of financial progress in 30s feels completely real. The savings balance that should actually back it up, for most people, simply isn't there. The average 30-year-old carries $37,000 in student debt and $4,200 in credit card balances. Every dollar serving those debts simply can't compound for retirement. That's 35 years of tax-advantaged growth, quietly, permanently lost before it ever begins. Nearly half of Americans in their 30s are not enrolled in any employer retirement plan at all. No contribution. No match. No compounding head start. If you have ever looked at that benefits enrollment page and quietly closed the tab, you already know this is not a fringe statistic. That is the common, majority experience. Stop and think about that for a second. This isn't about how disciplined you are. It's about what the math is doing quietly, every single month, whether you're paying attention or not. The account doesn't care about your intentions, it just keeps compounding. 2 people, same salary at 30. One saves $500 a month. The other saves nothing yet, just for 5 years. Same income. Same employer. Same market. Completely different retirements. That divergence starts the exact moment one of them decides to wait. $500 a month at 30, earning 7% annually, becomes $1.1 million by 67. No luck. No win. No inheritance. Just 37 years of patient compounding doing exactly what compounding always does when you simply leave it alone. Starting at 35 instead of 30, with the same 500 monthly yields $567,000 by 67. Mark the number down, $533,000. That's what the 5-year delay cost, not in fees, but in compounding that never happened. Inaction has a price. At 32, the $533,000 you're losing doesn't exist yet. No bill arrives. No account shows a balance dropping. At 64, it becomes the retirement you simply don't have. That invisibility is exactly what makes it so dangerous for so long. Lifestyle inflation doesn't feel like a decision, it feels like a reward. A better apartment, a newer car, dinners out that used to be rare, now just Tuesday. Each upgrade feels earned. But quietly, it consumes every raise before you notice. A $10,000 raise arrives. After taxes, it's roughly $7,000. Within 6 months, that $7,000 has a nicer apartment or a new car payment attached. Most people assume earning more automatically means saving more. It actually works the other way around. The raise was real. The savings were not. That's how income rises without retirement savings ever following. 1% more separates where most people land from where they actually needed to be. 1 additional percentage point into a 401k in your 30s adds $50,000 to $85,000 by retirement. Not a dramatic sacrifice. A structural one. If your employer matches 50 cents per dollar up to 6% of your salary, and you contribute less, you're leaving part of your pay on the table. Not a perk, actual compensation that simply vanishes when you don't claim it. Millions of Americans with employer matches contribute below the threshold every year. Free money, sometimes 3, 4, even 5% of salary, goes completely unclaimed. Stay with that for a second. Their retirement account stays smaller than they have any real reason to be. The math isn't fixed. If you are 32 and behind, you still have 35 years of compounding available. That's an enormous runway, more than most people ever stop to realize, but only if it starts being used today, not someday. The average Social Security benefit in 2024 is $1,907 a month, not enough to cover rent, groceries, utilities, and basic medical costs for most retired couples. That gap is real, painful, and it hits every single month without fail. The savings target at 30 isn't arbitrary. It's the difference between Social Security covering your expenses and Social Security covering only groceries, while your investments handle rent, utilities, insurance, and everything else that keeps the lights on. Sound like a situation you want to avoid? Most people in their 30s ask, should I pay off student loans or invest first? That's the wrong question. The right one is, how much can I reasonably do of both simultaneously, even if the amount starts small? Waiting until every loan is gone before starting to invest is not cautious. In many cases, it costs more in lost compounding than the interest saved on the debt. The math simply does not reward that kind of patience. Imagine being 40, opening a retirement calculator for the very first time, and discovering that a decade of well-intentioned postponement has a real, specific, and genuinely painful price tag attached to it. This is the part most people are never quite prepared for. That cold, unblinking number staring back at you from the screen simply doesn't lie. Your 30s are likely your lowest tax bracket decade. A Roth account taxes you now, at that lower rate, then everything compound completely tax-free, making it a genuinely powerful long-term advantage worth prioritizing. The 2024 Roth IRA limit is $7,000, $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Yet most eligible Americans in their 30s contribute far below that, or nothing at all. That's years of tax-free growth left on the table. Sit with that idea. $7,000 a year into a Roth, starting at 30. If you have ever stared at a contribution form and wondered whether it was really worth it, this is your answer. Over 37 years, with compounding quietly doing its work in the background, that single consistent habit is not a modest contribution. It is a profoundly different retirement. An emergency fund is not a substitute for retirement savings. It is the floor that keeps you from raiding retirement accounts when the car breaks down, the roof leaks, or an unexpected medical bill arrives and suddenly derails every carefully built plan you had. Withdrawing from a 401k before 59 and a half costs you the 10% penalty plus ordinary income taxes on the full amount. On a $15,000 withdrawal, that real combined cost can easily exceed $6,000 lost in a single year. When Americans in their 30s change jobs, a significant share cash out the 401k entirely rather than roll it over. Mark this number down, 10%. That is the early withdrawal penalty that lands on top of the ordinary income tax you already owe. The retirement account resets to zero, the compounding clock restarts from nothing, and that penalty receipt arrives in the mail shortly after. A direct rollover takes 15 minutes and preserves everything tax-free. An indirect rollover gives you 60 days to redeposit the funds yourself, and when that deadline passes, the IRS treats the entire amount as a fully taxable distribution, plus potential penalties. Buying a home in your 30s isn't just a housing decision, it restructures where every dollar goes for the next decade. And when mortgages stretch too far, retirement contributions are almost always the first casualty, quietly disappearing from the budget. Pausing retirement contributions to build a down payment faster is a trade most people make without ever calculating what it truly costs. The home may appreciate, but the compounding you pause does not come back. That lost time is simply gone forever. Top savers in their 30s rarely earn dramatically more than peers. They allocate savings first, automatically, and spend only what's left. That single habit explains virtually the entire gap between their retirement balance and the median. Paying yourself first means the contribution leaves your paycheck before it ever touches your checking account. It is not a disciplined strategy. It is an architecture decision. The money never passes through your hands or your bank app, so there is nothing to resist. Most 401k plans offer automatic annual escalation. The contribution percentage increases by 1 point each year without requiring any action from you. Stay with that for a second. Most people never turn it on. The feature just sits there, completely unused, for the entire decade. Notice what's happening here. The strategy for your 30s is not complex. Contribute at least enough to capture the full employer match. Open a Roth IRA. Turn on auto escalation. 3 moves. Not 30. Complexity was never the obstacle. Starting is. There are doctors and attorneys in their 60s who earn $250,000 a year through their 30s and 40s and have less than $400,000 saved. A high salary spent is still spent. Income without savings is simply a lifestyle. It is never a retirement plan. The higher the income, the more places there are for money to disappear. Bigger mortgage, private school tuition, vacation homes financed at the worst possible time, club memberships, business class upgrades on every flight. Sound familiar? The spending always expands quietly to fill whatever arrives. The number that actually predicts retirement readiness isn't how many dollars you saved, it's what percentage of your income you consistently saved over time. That single ratio, whether 10 or 40%, tracked across years, tells the whole story. Financial planners broadly recommend saving 15% of gross income toward retirement. The average American saves closer to 4 or 5%. That gap, sustained over 30 years, doesn't just matter, it literally is the difference between retiring and not retiring. Just think about that math for a moment. Take your total retirement contributions last year, for 401k, IRA, everything, and divide by your gross income. That single number, whatever it turns out to be, is your actual savings rate. Here is the part most people miss. They have never once calculated it. Children arrive in the 30s for most households, and when they do, the savings rate drops noticeably. That is not a judgment. It is a predictable pattern that, if unaddressed, compounds quietly and persistently over the years that follow. Your children can take out loans for college, federal loans, scholarships, work-study programs. There are no loans for retirement. Fund the retirement account first, then the 529. That is not a cold calculation. It is simply the correct sequence. They weren't high earners. combined income in their early 30s was around $90,000. But if you've ever felt that pull to cash out your 401k when switching jobs and just deal with it later, they resist it every single time. They contributed enough to capture the full employer match every year, open Roth accounts early, and let those small, consistent decisions compound decade after decade. By 50, with no inheritance and no windfall, just decades of consistent contributions, that couple had crossed $800,000 in combined retirement assets. Compounding did exactly what it always does when you leave it alone long enough, stay patient, and stop interfering. Over 30 years, the difference between a 0.05% expense ratio and a 1.2% expense ratio on the same underlying market performance is tens of thousands of dollars quietly lost to fees. The simpler, cheaper fund wins, consistently, reliably year after year. The expense ratio hides in a document most people never open. It charges you silently, every single year, as a percentage of your total assets. Write down this number. On $300,000, even a 1% fee quietly costs you $3,000 annually, whether the market rises or falls. A target date fund is not a perfect vehicle. But for someone in their 30s, not yet tracking expense ratios and asset allocation, it is vastly better than leaving contributions parked in a low-yield default money market account going nowhere. At 30, a portfolio parked heavily in bonds or cash is not conservative, it is quietly underperforming. A 35-year horizon means short-term market volatility is entirely survivable. Steady inflation silently eroding your purchasing power across that same stretch is the genuinely dangerous threat. 3% annual inflation over 30 years cuts the purchasing power of a dollar roughly in half. And here's where most people get it backwards. They see interest in their savings account and assume they're growing their money. The reverse is actually happening. Money sitting in a savings account earning 2% interest is still losing real ground to inflation, quietly, invisibly, every single month. If you are 35 with $20,000 saved against a benchmark of $74,000, you are not ruined. But you need to understand exactly what closing that $54,000 gap costs in monthly contribution terms going forward. The number is specific, and it is very real. Getting from $20,000 to $222,000 in 5 years requires roughly $2,500 a month. That is not realistic for most households. But finding an extra $800 per month often is. And that kind of consistent effort moves the trajectory meaningfully in the right direction. Most Americans hit peak income somewhere around age 45. Your 30s aren't the peak, they're the preparation for it. That twice. The saving and contribution habits you build right now determine how much of that future peak income you actually keep. Read that again. The only number in this entire conversation you can change today is your contribution rate. Not the market. Not your employer's match. Not your starting age. Just your contribution rate. That single lever is completely in your hands right now. You already know you should save more. You've known for years. But knowledge isn't the missing piece. Automated structure that removes the decision entirely, that's the missing piece. Knowing and doing are never the same thing. Willpower is a depletable resource. Payroll deduction is not. The people who consistently outsave their peers are not more disciplined. They have simply made saving automatic, so that discipline was never required in the first place. 3 accounts in order. First, the 401k contributed up to the full employer match, and why would you ever walk away from free money? Second, a Roth IRA maxed at $7,000 per year. Third, if anything remains, a taxable brokerage. That sequence matters. The Roth IRA phases out above $146,000 for single filers and $230,000 for married filers in 2024. Beyond those limits, the backdoor Roth, a non-deductible traditional IRA converted to Roth, stays completely legal and widely underused by high earners. Self-employed? There's no payroll deduction, no employer plan, no automatic match. Every savings decision falls on you. Yet the best tools available, like a SEP IRA or solo 401k, with generous contribution limits, go chronically underused by those who need them most. A SEP IRA allows contributions up to 25% of net self-employment income, with a 2024 ceiling of $69,000. That is 3 to 4 times the standard 401k employee contribution limit. And here is the part most people miss. Most self-employed people in their 30s had never even opened one. At 28, $50,000 to $60,000 saved puts you on track. At 30, $74,000. At 32, $90,000 to $100,000. At 35, $148,000 to $160,000. Those are not aspirational targets. They are the precise math behind a $74,000 household income retiring at 67. If you're already at the benchmark, the challenge isn't starting, it's not stopping. The decade between 30 and 40 is when lifestyle expansion hit hardest. Bigger homes, nicer cars, private schools. Keeping your savings rate intact through that pressure is the real test. A home is an asset, but not retirement income unless you sell or borrow against it. The benchmarks that matter are liquid, instant assets, not total net worth padded by a house you plan to live in for decades. Keep those two numbers separate. There's a specific feeling when your retirement balance is far below where you expected. If you've ever stared at that number and felt your stomach drop, you know exactly what I mean. Most people close the tab immediately. The ones who sit with it, who let it fully land, are the ones who actually do something to fix it. Not opening the statement does not change the balance. It only removes the information that would motivate change. A month of avoidance is compounding working against you instead of for you. The math does not pause or wait while you look away. Being 40 and behind makes the math harder, not impossible. The window is shorter, contributions must be larger, and the urgency is real. But it's not over. Your next decision today carries more weight than almost anything you did throughout your entire 30s. Pause for a moment. The single most common sentence financial advisors hear from clients in their late 50s, write this down. Number 1 regret, every time, is some version of, I wish I had started earlier. Not I wish I had earned more. Not saved more. Earlier. If you are between 30 and 35, and you change your contribution rate even slightly this month, the dollar value of that single decision, measured at retirement, is larger than almost any raise you will ever receive in your entire career. The benchmark number is a target. The contribution rate, the automation, the match capture, those are the system. Targets be missed. Systems, if maintained consistently, eventually produce the target without ever requiring you to consciously think about it. The biggest financial shift in your 30s isn't a number. It's the moment you stop being someone who intends to save more and become someone who already does, because the automated contribution is already running, quietly, every single payday. Being on track in your 30s feels boring. Contributions go in automatically every month. The balance grows slowly, almost invisibly. No alarms, no celebration, nothing dramatic. That quiet, unremarkable consistency is exactly what it is supposed to look like. Once a year, check 4 numbers: your total retirement balance, your contribution rate, your employer match capture percentage, and your savings rate share of gross income. That's it. 4 numbers. 1 page. 15 minutes, once a year. Simple wins. At 50, the IRS allows catch-up contributions, an additional $7,500 annually to a 401k. But the people who use those catch-up contributions most effectively are the ones who built the savings habit back in their 30s and simply never abandoned it. Your 40s will feel like the most financially abundant decade of your life. They are also the decade where the most retirement savings get quietly diverted into lifestyle upgrades, college tuition payments, larger mortgage refinances, and new car leases. Let that sink in. The decisions made between 30 and 39 don't only decide a retirement balance. They decide whether a 65-year-old has genuine options or has unavoidable obligations. That is the whole question. That is truly all of it.